What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Sanjeev back at it with another video. What a great day, man. The Raiders we got our first victory, man. What a great way to win, man. The Raiders absolutely ran the ball all over the Denver Broncos. Josh Jacobs got 28 carries, 144 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But more than Josh Jacobs, the bigger impact, in my opinion, came with Derek Carr, who finally started running with his legs. A handful of times, Derek Carr got it done when we needed him to. 7 carries for 40 yards. The Raiders got it done, man. What an absolutely great game today. I'm pumped up. I'm excited to talk about this. Let's talk about this, man. Shout out to all you guys that are here. Shadow said, yes, our first win. Run Jacobs and look what happens. Rick Grimes said Derek Carr 0 touchdowns. We'll talk about Derek Carr's performance. I do think that although he didn't have touchdowns, I do think Derek Carr stepped up when needed. So we'll talk about Derek Carr in just a second. Marvel Johnson said, hell of a defense the second half. The Raiders stepped up, man. 7 points is all we gave up in the second half. That's absolutely ridiculous. When in the past have the Raiders been able to hold the opposing offense to 7 points in a half? You know, a shout out to Patrick Graham for getting the defense right, especially those halftime adjustments. I was talking about it with my brother just recently, and he made a great point. This entire season, in the second half, the Raiders defense has stepped up. The only half in which we didn't was the Cardinals. And truth be told, we didn't give up any points at all to the Cardinals in that first half. So it makes sense that Graham didn't make any adjustments going into the second half, right? Either way, man, this one was a fantastic game. I'm pumped up, man. Let's talk about this. A shout out to all you guys that are here. Shout out to my guy Ty Davis. So we finally got that dub. Let's effing go. Absolutely, man. I was kind of nervous towards the end of the game. I'm not gonna lie. At one point, man, it was a one possession game. The Broncos even had the ball at one point, and the defense stepped up, got the stop, and then we went downfield and we put up. I believe it was a field goal at that time, or maybe it was a touchdown at that time. It was the final Josh Jacobs touchdown, and the Raiders really put the game away with that touchdown. But more so than that, the Broncos had the ability to at least go downfield and potentially get a field goal, make it a one possession game. The defense stepped up, and then the offense put the game away, right? They got the run. So I'm excited, man. It sucks that it took the Raiders so long to get that first win, but the Raiders actually got it done, right? We actually got it when it mattered. So I'm pumped up, man. I'm super pumped up. I know a lot of people are saying you're late. You guys got to understand, man. I might set a time of 4:30 or whatever it may be, but we're not going to actually go live until once the game fully ends. And then I got to set up, of course. So I apologize for that, man. But I'm pumped up, man. I'm super fired up. I'm going to have a great week this week, especially with the film, the content, all that good stuff coming in. Defense showed up. As Mark Wrong said, he says the defense showed out, and that is fact. In my opinion, this game was really a game where the entire team came together and won, right? The Raiders technically put up 32 points, but we also had 7 points because of the defensive touchdown, right? So the Raiders defense really showed up. The offense showed up because even then the offense put up like 25 points on their own end. The Raiders stepped up and they got it done. So I'm excited, man. I'm super, super, super excited. Let's talk about this, man. Let's talk about this. Jason Hall left a $2 super chat. Shout out to you, man. You said, to be honest, glad we won, but a rookie could do what DC did. That's an interesting point that you're making because you are right? In certain aspects, a rookie quarterback can do what Derek Carr does, but a rookie also wouldn't be, especially day one, ready to read NFL defenses. You look at a guy like Tua or Jalen Hurts. We're not always necessarily going to get Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. We may get Tua Tagovailoa or Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback, but they're not great when it comes to reads, right? So always keep in mind, yeah, technically we can get a rookie quarterback that may be able to do stuff that we feel like Derek Carr may not be able to do. But what if we draft a bust, right? So never say never, right? Let's get into other super chats. Now, I do want to say if you guys want to have a comment, if you guys want to make a statement or whatever, if you guys are feeling some type of way, make sure to leave a super chat. Not only does it actually support the channel, but super chats are the way to support the channel, right? They're the ways to make sure that content like this can continue to go, right? Super chats are the way to go. And of course, I always appreciate it. Larry Millette said, overall, it was a well-rounded offensive approach. Still too much confusion in the red zone. We're going to talk about the red zone right now. First and foremost, thank you for the super chat. The red zone offense is still terrible, right? And I think it is getting better, specifically because we're running the football more, right? And I think for the Raiders, that's what you got to do is you got to continue to run the football. You got to continue to pound the rock, especially in the red zone, right? Was it a 7-yard touchdown, Josh Jacobs' second run? Good things happen when you would give the ball to one of your best offensive players, one of your best overall players, right? And for the Raiders, it's Josh Jacobs. But you can look at certain parts of this game, right? After Darren Waller caught the pass to the 1-yard line, we ended up losing yards and we ended up kicking a field goal, right? And those type of moments are moments where when the Super Bowl comes around and if the Raiders are playing in it, we can't have those things happen, right? And I'm using Super Bowl as hyperbole. Obviously, I know, we may not make it to the Super Bowl, but those are moments where you have to capitalize. So our team has to learn to capitalize in those moments. You can't be on the 1-yard line and lose yards and kick a field goal. You can't have a really solid first drive, get down to the 5 to 10-yard line, and then settle for a field goal. Those type of things can't happen, right? Either way, I am still glad that the Raiders were able to come together and get this victory. Nick said, we have been asking for the run, and that is fact. We've been absolutely looking for the Raiders to be able to run. Raider Lux said, any rookie can do what DC is producing much cheaper. I get it. I'm not the biggest Derek Carr fan. All of you guys know that. I've been very critical of DC. I think the thing with Derek Carr is he plays a little conservative at times, but today he did get it done. Now, will he continue to get it done? Will he get it done next week? We'll see, right? But I will say this. Against the Titans last week, he was able to run with the football a little bit, and that carried into this week. This week, he had 7 carries for 40 yards, right? So he definitely did more things. I do think he still has some issues. Of course, we'll find out as the season goes along if he continues to step up or if his game comes down, right? And I get it. Rookies are cheaper. And, of course, that is going to be the one thing, right? Once the Raiders have a really stout roster in place, you have to make the decision. Either you lose your pass rusher, you lose your tackle, you lose your corner, and you keep paying your quarterback, or you get a rookie cornerback and you keep all these guys within the stacked roster, right? And of course, once that time comes, the Raiders will make that decision. But today, Derek Carr is the quarterback, right? Let's just be honest. He's the quarterback going forward. And I think the Raiders did definitely do a little bit better today, right? Anthony said, LOL, definitely a great week. Absolutely, man. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I'm super excited. I see a lot of your guys' comments. Again, super chats is the way to go. Shout out to you, Andre. I appreciate it. Let's talk about the onside kick. Shout out to you, G. I actually like the onside kick. I think the onside kick was the right call in that moment. Again, hindsight is 20/20, but let's be honest, right? If the Raiders recovered that onside kick, people would have been like, whoa, Josh McDaniels is pulling everything out of the bag, right? Here's the thing. I like the fact that we took our chance to get the ball back, right? Every game there's, the team with more turnovers, the team that ends up getting that 1 or 2 plays going to win. In the first 3 weeks, we didn't get those 1 or 2 plays. We weren't able to get off the field. We weren't able to force the turnover. But in this game, we took our chances, and ultimately that paid off, right? We played a good football game. The blocking was fantastic by the offensive line. Big shout out to the offensive line. I feel like I may be like one person on this side of the argument within like the Raiders community, right? Content creators, the Twitter space, where I've been saying I think the offensive line is a pretty solid unit. I think the offensive line blocks really well, especially when it comes to running. And today they showed up. It wasn't just Josh Jacobs who averaged 5.1 yards per attempt. The team in general averaged 5.6 yards. Think about that. 5.6 yards, 2 touchdowns. Plus, Derek Carr only took, I believe, 1 sack, and maybe there was a second sack as well. But Carr wasn't pressured nonstop. He had time to throw the football. So I'm glad that Andre James is healthy, right? Because that makes a big difference. But I like the onside kick. I think the Raiders are going headed to the right direction. Um, some people are saying Derek Carr was trash. I don't know if I would say he was absolute trash. I think Derek Carr did enough for the Raiders to win. Plus, I think our defense stepped up a little bit. Some people were saying the Broncos are a top 10 team, right? Like, people were saying that at one point, and I know they may not have clicked fully. I know they had some injuries, but the Raiders still stepped up and showed up and won, right? Shout out to you, Herman, for being a member to this channel. A big shout out to you. You said Derek Carr showed up. Absolutely, 100% fact. Brandon Gonzalez left a $5 super chat. He said, my only criticism for the offense is the predetermined throws. Why pay a quarterback if you don't give him the choice of going through progressions? Here's the thing, right? Josh McDaniels calls a play, right? He's going to go up there and say, hey, we're going to run a quick screen to the right where the receivers block, and we're going to put our running back in a one-on-one situation. And it's up to Derek Carr to say this play works or this play doesn't. Let's check out of it or let's check into it. There was a play in which Colton Miller was stuck run blocking downfield, and there ended up being a pass play, right? That tells me that the initial call within the huddle was a run play, and Derek Carr checked out of it. For those people who say, Derek Carr doesn't have the ability to do X, Y, and Z, and Josh McDaniels is telling him where to throw the ball every single time, that is not true. There is no way Josh McDaniels can call a play and know that it's going to be a cover 3 shell or a cover 2 shell, quarters coverage. There's no way Josh McDaniels can predict that, right? Derek Carr has to go out there and know what his route combinations are and see what type of coverage the defense is running and make the decision based off that. There's no way Josh McDaniels is telling him where to throw. Now, there might be screen passes. There might be quick out routes that Josh McDaniels is calling, but does Derek Carr really not have the ability to check out of those plays? Like, Derek Carr is in year 10. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't, right? Either way, I appreciate the super chat. Shout out to you. Mario said, a shout out to Robertson. Return was sick. Absolutely, man. Big shout out to Amik Robertson. Let's be honest, man. I wanted Amik Robertson cut 100%. I wanted him cut. I said, this guy's a liability in coverage. And I think it was 3rd and 12 maybe or something like that. It was 3rd and long for sure. And Russell Wilson throws it in the first quarter deep to the right to Jerry Jeudy. Jeudy catches the ball and he mocks Amik Robertson, man. He said Amik Robertson's small. He did this with his hand, right? He put his hand to the side and he made fun of Amik Robertson, right? And he was laughing at Amik Robertson. But Amik Robertson got the last laugh because not only did Amik Robertson score a touchdown in this game, but he made a couple of really nice plays. So big shout out to Amik Robertson. He stepped up in this game. He got the Raiders a touchdown, man. Sometimes people get the ball. Sometimes people don't even find the ball, right? A fumble happens and a guy's looking right and doesn't even realize the ball's on the floor. Amik Robertson had the mental processing to pick that ball up and then run it back for a touchdown. Guys can't do that. Guys can't run it back for touchdowns, can't, go within guys. But Amik Robertson showed the skill that he showed in college because he used to do this in college where he'd either intercept a pass, return a punt, and make plays with the football. And he obviously still has that. So shout out to Amik Robertson. The guy deserves a lot of credit. Omar said, Sanji, imagine if we played the donkey 17 times. We'd be going to the playoffs every year. Wouldn't that be something, man? Wouldn't that be something? Shout out to you for the super chat. Big shout out to you. It's crazy because the Raiders schedule, in my opinion, after this Chiefs game gets a little bit easier. We got the Chiefs. I believe that's on Monday Night Football next week. And then we got the bye week. So the Raiders could be 2-3 going into the bye week. And I don't think this game's going to be as, some people have stated that the Chiefs are going to blow the Raiders out. Some people have said that the Raiders don't have a shot against the Chiefs. They're too high-powered. I don't know if that's fact. I don't know if the Chiefs have such a high-powered offense that the Raiders can't stop them and win. I think the Chiefs are much worse than they've been in the past couple of years. And I think it's because the league is changing. My brother and I were talking, and he was making a good point that this year there's never been a less offensive points scored than ever in the past before, right? This year, teams are scoring less points. And the thing is teams are designing defenses to shut down Russell Wilson and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. This is the year that teams are designing that quarters coverage shell or that two safety split shell, right? Where you're really trying to limit the big plays and it's really working. Points are down this year for the first time since like 2006 or something like that, right? A long time ago, points are down. So this could be the year, man, where the Raiders hopefully are able to get that win over the Chiefs. It's been a while, right? So we got to get that win. Shout out to you, Deanna. You said Raiders are back in it. Josh Jacobs MVP. How great of a game did Josh Jacobs have? You know, it's not just the fact that he had 144 yards. It's those runs. I think the 43-yard run that he had, like that big run, I believe he should have been tackled behind the line of scrimmage, and I believe he spun back to the inside and then broke a tackle and went for 43 yards, right? It's those type of things that when I look at it from when I look at Josh Jacobs, I say this guy has elite ability, man. Let's just be honest. The guy's a straight superstar with the ball in his hands. And I love the fact that not only did we run the ball a lot with him, Josh Jacobs had 5 catches today on 6 targets, right? We were trying to get Josh Jacobs the football. He touched the ball today 33 times. That's insane. That's a lot of touches for a football player, right? So shout out to Josh McDaniels for saying, let's get Josh Jacobs the ball. Big shout out to him for coming up with that game plan. Shout out to you, Deanna and Alex. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it as always. Let's talk about this. I see a couple of comments coming in. Keep in mind, there's so many comments that are coming in, so I apologize if I miss any of your guys' comments. A lot of comments are coming in, so this chat's kind of going a little fast. Mark said Jacobs was a beast, and that fumble 6 was beautiful. Where do you think Hobbs ranks in the top 5? Where do you think Hobbs ranks? Do you think he ranks in the top 5 of the roster? That's a tough one. Does Nate Hobbs rank in the top 5 on this roster? Let's talk about it. Who's the Raiders' best player? I know some people are going to say Devontae Adams. I'm going to say Maxx Crosby just because I'm an O-line and D-line guy. So I'll put Maxx Crosby 1, Devontae Adams 2. And then from there, you can make the argument for so many different players. You can almost make the argument Nate Hobbs is number 3. Like, you can literally almost make that argument, right? Some people would say Josh Jacobs is 3. Some people would say Darren Waller, maybe Derek Carr. I think Nate Hobbs is top 5 for sure. Like, even if you said Josh Jacobs is number 3, then who's number 4, right? You can almost make the argument as Nate Hobbs. I think Hobbs allowed the first catch of the game for like 14 or 15 yards. And I don't think he allowed another catch after that. He was an absolute stud. He locked it down. And you're right, man, that pick, it wasn't a pick, but fumble 6 that went to the house was an absolute beautiful play. Big heads up play. I'm excited, man. I'm super fired up. I think the Raiders did a really good job this week. Especially when you look at some of like the more advanced stats, right? Sometimes we'll look at just like the overall statistics, but the Raiders had 11 passing first downs and 14 rushing first downs. Think about that. 14 times we ran the ball for a first time. The Broncos ran the ball for a first time just 5 times. So the Raiders almost 3 times as many first downs through the run. Even then, third down efficiencies. The Broncos were basically 3 of 11, which is a little bit higher than about 30%. The Raiders were 50% on third downs, right? So everything really favored the Raiders. We controlled the clock, 35 minutes to them to only 25 minutes. So the Raiders basically dominated when you look at all the statistics that really matter. Raider Lurks said, rather pay Jacobs, a star D tackle, an offensive tackle, than paying Carr. And that's the thing, right? That's the decision that the Raiders will have to make over the next couple of years. Do you think, because Nate Hobbs is going to want money down the line. Josh Jacobs is going to want money down the line. Obviously, Josh Jacobs sooner rather than later. And do you want to take the money you're going to pay Carr, right? 36, 37 million. And do you want to take that money and take that and keep a guy like Jacobs and Hobbs and continue paying these guys? Even Denzel Perryman made a couple of good plays early on, right? He did give up a catch to the tight end, I believe, down the seams. And then he was knocked out. I think it was a concussion. I'm not 100% sure exactly what knocked him out. But he made 2 really solid plays. One was against the run. The other was like a quick screen. He sniffed it out. And Raider Lux, you're 100% right? That's the decision the Raiders will have to make. 805 Hunter said the first win was going to be the hardest to get. We can start stacking the wins now. Confidence is key to success. That's that's fact. It's 100% fact. This first win was hard, man, because over the last 3 weeks, like the Chargers game, we were coming back and ultimately we fell short. But against the Cardinals, I really felt like, all right, the Raiders are definitely a top 5 to 7 team. And we just proved it by whooping on the Cardinals. And they ended up coming back and beating the Raiders. And that one was hard. That was really, really, really hard. Even against the Titans, we started off super slow. They put up 3 touchdowns on the first 3 drives, but then we made those adjustments. And they didn't score another point the rest of the game. Or I think got 3 points before halftime. But they didn't score after that. In the second half, they put up 0 points. And we still couldn't come back and win. So those losses really suck. And as the season comes to an end, we're going to look back at those first 3 games, especially the Cardinals and Titans game, and we're going to say, man, those were the games to have won. But you're right? Getting that first win, especially against the Denver Broncos team that it's just a matter of time until they click. I know they haven't clicked yet, but they're going to click sooner rather than later. And they're going to be a good team. So I'm glad we're able to beat this team that is a good team. A shout out to you, 805, for the super chat. Rick Grimes said, Carr OTDs. Rookies can hand the ball off and run for a few first downs. Carr equals 3-point machine. We need a quarterback that can score touchdowns. 23 has generational quarterbacks. I'm not going to disagree with you guys, man, or with you, Rick. I get it. I know you don't like Carr, and I know you understand where I stand on the Derek Carr situation. If it was up to me, I would be all in to get a quarterback, but I don't want a quarterback like at pick 17, right? If you're going to get a quarterback, you take one of the top 5, take one in the top 5, right? There are a lot of good quarterbacks, but you want to take one of the first 3 or 4 quarterbacks that come off the board, right? Quarterback's such a position. And don't get me wrong, right? I'm not telling you guys that I think Derek Carr is the solution. He is not the solution at all. I know we got the win today, but Kirk Cousins gets wins, right? Jimmy Garoppolo gets wins, but those guys aren't future Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, right? They may be able to take a super stacked roster to the Super Bowl, but it is what it is, right? But right now, you do have to realize that Derek Carr is the quarterback. And once the season comes to an end, if we're 4 and 4 and 12, 4 and 13, if that's where we end up being, then maybe we take a quarterback. But what if we win 11 games, we're in the playoffs, and Derek Carr has an MVP-like season, right? You're not going to take a quarterback at that point, right? So we'll see what ends up happening. Shout out to you, Rick, for the super chat. Alex said offense found their identity, run the football. That's that may be the most underrated comment that we've gotten. I do feel like, and we talked about this. I actually did a Twitter Spaces where we talked about this. The Raiders offense really did not know their identity, right? Most of us thought that our identity is going to be spread the ball out, let Derek Carr stand back there and throw the football. Let Derek Carr find his guy. Let him find Devontae Adams and come back and find Matt Collins. We said that is the Raiders' identity. And the thing is that isn't, right? The Raiders are a run-first team, and they should run the shit out of the football and throw off of running the football. They should run on first down, on second down, on third down, on first down, on second down, and then play action it and throw it, right? And obviously, that's not exactly how it's going to go, but we need to run the football. Because, in my opinion, our offensive line does a great job moving people. We have some big, strong, powerful football players. Dylan Parham is great. He's a great technician, as is Andre James. Andre James, shout out to him, man. Absolute beast. I cannot wait to get the film and really break down his tape. The Raiders need to continue to run the football. Shout out to you for the super chat. Octavius Prescott, $8.88 super chat. Interesting amount right there. I appreciate it. You said great game for Jacobs. I feel like they're going to regret not picking up his 5th-year option. Zeus has no moves. Agreed. Can they still extend Jacobs? Here's the thing. I don't think the Raiders had the salary cap to pick up Josh Jacobs, his 5th-year option. And I think it was sort of a gamble to say, hey, let's go ahead and pick his 5th-year option up and give him whatever it would have been, right? $8, $9, $10 million, as opposed to maybe he'll take a cheaper contract. Right, maybe Josh will come back and say, hey, I'll sign for 5.5 or 6 over a year or 2, right? Not saying that Josh Jacobs can't get $15 million, right? If he continues having the season he's having. That may bite us. I'm not going to lie with you guys. It could potentially bite us. Now, I will say this. Zamir White did not look good. And I agree with that to an extent. I think Zamir White may have a bigger learning curve. And I think some rookies have bigger learning curves than other rookies. Right? I know Breece Hall's absolutely having a great start to his season, as is Houston's running back Pierce. But not every single running back is going to be those guys. Plus, I think the way Josh McDaniels wants to build his system and scheme, where he gets a lot of different running backs that do a lot of different things, I think Zeus makes sense. Plus, he was a 4th-round pick, right? How much do you really get out of a 4th-round pick? Like, I don't know a lot of good 4th-round pick running backs. I know a lot of 2nd-round guys. I know a lot of 3rd-round guys. But the later it gets in the draft, a lot of the top-tier backs are off the board, right? But yeah, the Raiders can definitely still extend Josh Jacobs, and they should, right? Let's just be honest. I think Josh Jacobs deserved more money than Hunter Renfrow, and I will never get past that. I think Hunter Renfrow signing him, I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but I think it would have made more sense to sign Josh Jacobs, because I think Jacobs, again, I get it, may not have as long of a career, but in the 4 to 5 years that Josh Jacobs will continue to play, he's going to have more production in those 4 or 5 years than Hunter Renfrow will in the next 10 years, right? At least in my opinion, that's what it's going to be, right? Plus, I don't think Hunter Renfrow is all that great, in my opinion, right? I know someone else may disagree with that, but I appreciate the super chat. Steven said, Raiders. He said, I forgot what it feels like. Absolutely, man. I'm excited, man. I'm super, super, super excited. It's crazy to think how long has it been, right? Like our last win was, I believe, the last game of the regular season before the playoffs. It's been a long time, man. It's like 10 months ago, right? So I'm excited, man. I'm super, super fired up. It's gonna be a great week. I think the Raiders are gonna come out even next week and be super. They're gonna play super hard, right? Because the Raiders know where they're at, right? Kevin Lurker, shout out to you for the $5 super chat. I appreciate it as always. If you have a message, go ahead and put it in, and I'll see if I can see it. Ty Davis, shout out to you, man. I really, really, really appreciate it. You say pay Josh Jacobs. Fact, man. Let's get Josh Jacobs extended. Let's make it work, man. Shout out to you. How about those Chiefs? Shout out to you, man. Good dude. Although he's a Chiefs fan. And we're gonna talk some Chiefs this week, man, because the Raiders are gonna whoop their ass this week. So. Shout out to you, though, man. I appreciate it. Let's get into some more of these comments. CJ Garcia said we should be putting up 30 points easily every game. Fact. What's crazy is we didn't put up 30 points on offense this week, right? We put up like 25. 7 came because of the fumble for a touchdown that Amik ended up having. So technically, we didn't put up the 30 plus points. But I agree. There's no reason why the Raiders should not be putting up 30 points every single week. Our offense is too stacked, right? We have a receiver making 30 million, a second receiver making 15, a tight end making 15. We have a quarterback making, although it's this year's going to be 20, next year's going to be 35 million. There's no reason why this team should not be putting up 30 points a game. Like, you can make the argument that our offensive playmakers are better than the Bills, better than the Ravens. You can make that argument, and the only difference is the quarterback in those offenses. All right, if the Raiders have too high-powered of an offense not to be putting up 30 points, hopefully this week gets us on track. One of the things I don't think a lot of people think about is, teams are going to watch our film from last week, and they're going to say the Raiders love to spread the ball out, and they love to do X, Y, and Z, and we don't need to stack the box because Josh Jacobs isn't going to run it. When you give Josh the ball 33 times in a game, guess what's going to happen next week? Guess what the Chiefs are going to do next week? They're going to stack the box, and they're going to say, let's play the cover 3 shell. Let's make sure Josh Jacobs doesn't get going. So it's going to be for Derek Carr this upcoming week to say, hey, they're putting 8 guys in the box. Let me run some crossing patterns. Let me hit them for a post, right? Let me get something deep going. And that's going to be up to Derek Carr to do this upcoming week. And I think it starts from really having success on the ground one week and have that carry over into the second week. Shout out to you, CJ. I really appreciate it. Great Tribulation said, finally a convincing win. Derek does much better when he runs. Fact. Derek Carr looks so much better when he runs the football. Derek Carr does an absolute great job when he runs the football. When Derek Carr gets out in space, I read this tweet today. I don't know if it's fact. Someone can probably tell me if it's a fact. Someone said that Derek Carr is faster than Patrick Mahomes when it comes to speed, but the issue is he doesn't want to get out of the pocket. I saw that on Twitter, and it got me thinking, like, is Derek Carr actually faster than Mahomes? I don't know, right? But Derek Carr is pretty fast. He's pretty quick. He can definitely get out of the pocket and do some things. But it almost seems like sometimes he doesn't want to, right? So my hope is that Derek Carr can do that this week, right? And against the Chiefs, he can continue doing that. But Derek Carr definitely looks better when he runs the football. That's why, although he only threw for 188 yards, and although he had no touchdowns, he still got it done when it mattered, right? I look at the key pivotal moments within a game. I can care less if Derek Carr has 70 yards, if he has 400 yards. If you win the football game and when it matters, Derek Carr picks up the first down, Derek Carr gets it going, he makes sure we're putting up points. As long as Derek Carr is able to do that when it matters, that's the only thing that I care about, right? I don't care about the statistics. And part of it is him getting out of the pocket. Shout out to you, Great Tribulation, for the super chat. Raymond said the design play to Zamir White was incredible. I got to check the play out. I got to check the play out again. But it looked like a crack toss. Someone can probably correct me on that. It looked like someone blocked down and then Colton Miller got out in space. I believe that's what the play design was, or maybe it wasn't a crack toss. Maybe it was a fake to the running back and a pitch out. I believe that's what it was. And Colton Miller kind of jumped out in front of his guy, and we got him out in space in one-on-one situation with, I believe, Bradley Chubb, and Zamir White made him miss. Right? Let's be honest. Zamir White was told that we're going to put you in a one-on-one situation and you have to make him miss. And he did, right? He absolutely did. So big shout out to Zamir White. Ty Davis said, hell if Jones is for pressure, we could have kept Ngakoue. I don't know. I think, I'll be honest, I think Chandler Jones did a pretty good job today. He had a couple of hits to the quarterback. And here's the thing, right? Ngakoue isn't doing that much better than Chandler Jones. Like, he's not so much better where you look at these guys and you say, yeah, Chandler Jones is not good and Unique is a superstar guy, right? Unique's not that good either, right? And then here's the thing, Malcolm Kuntz got more playing time. So I'm excited to go back and watch the tape and really watch what pressures and tackles and things Kuntz was able to do. I'm glad that Patrick Graham realized it. Only keeping him in for 5 snaps prior to this week. I'm glad that he was able to now get him onto the field, right? Jason said Perryman is hurt. That sucks, man. Hopefully he comes back, right? Hopefully Perryman comes back. Jefford said 700 in the chat. Hit the like button. If you guys can just hit that thumbs up button, I would really appreciate it, man. You guys don't understand. It really makes a difference. Like, absolutely makes a difference. It allows the channel to grow. Alternatively, if you guys don't like it, hit the down button, right? The down like button. So shout out to all of you guys. Let's get into some more of these more super chats. Margarine said, I miss Ruggs. It's crazy because the Raiders could have had Henry Ruggs on a rookie contract. And how much better and more explosive would the offense be if we're still able to get Devontae Adams, right? Obviously, Ruggs made a massive mistake, and he's going to pay for that, right? And, he isn't on this team, but even if it wasn't Ruggs, right? Imagine if the Raiders took another wide receiver, right? Maybe a CeeDee Lamb or someone, and we still went out and got Devontae Adams. Either way, I think the Raiders are in a good spot right now. I think we just got to continue to churn out those wins, right? Just continue to get it one by one. We got the Chiefs coming up on prime time, and then we got the bye week. That bye week's going to definitely suck. Joseph said we need Kuntz over Jones. I agree with you, man. 100% fact, agree with you. We definitely need to. Continue to get Malcolm Kuntz involved. In my opinion, let's get into some more of these questions. Shout out to you, Erico. I appreciate it. You said shout out to you. I appreciate that, man. For reals. Tony said James comes back and the O-line clicks and everything moves much nicer. Ooh, fact, 100% fact, man. Let's talk about that. How much better does the offensive line look with Andre James back out there. Some people question me, right? I put a video out recently where I said the offensive line is making changes. I put out things on Twitter all the time about the O line, the D line. I'll put things out. I speak to people within the Raiders organization that think Andre James is the best offensive lineman, the most important offensive lineman for the Raiders. I don't disagree with it. Like, look how much better the offensive line was today with Andre James back out there, with Dylan Parham out at right guard. And Parham got his ass kicked a little bit today, man. I'm going to actually be honest. He missed a defensive line game, right, on, I think, the first or second drive. There was another play in which he missed the guy. In my opinion, right, they doubled team down, him and James did, and two guys came off the edge. Illuminor picked up one of them. The other one went free. Maybe Parham could have processed that a little bit better, but the offensive line looks fantastic, man. The Raiders' offensive line has not been the issue this season. I know some people say, 6 sacks and, Carr doesn't have a clean pocket. I urge you guys to go watch, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buccaneers and the Patriots and the Packers and compare those offensive lines to the Raiders. There's really not a big difference, right? There's really not. I mean, maybe the Chiefs, there might be a little bit of difference. Chiefs do have one of the best offensive lines, but there's not a big difference among the offensive lines. If you look at the 6th best offensive line and compare that to the 20th best, there's really not a difference. It's pretty much the same. Guys lose, right? It happens every week. Offensive linemen lose. It's up for the quarterback to make plays. Today, Derek Carr made those plays, and people are going to say the offensive line looks better because Derek Carr made those plays, but that's just what it is. A quarterback has to be able to make some plays sometimes, right? Shout out to you for the super chat. Coljeet said 6. We missed the extra point. That is actually fact. I said the Raiders got 7 points because of the defense. That is actually not true. It was 6 because we did miss the extra point. Shout out to you. Tito said Chiefs lose tonight and we'll only be 1 game behind. Isn't that crazy that the Raiders will only be 1 game behind the Kansas City Chiefs if the Chiefs lose? I know the Chargers won today. So I think the Chargers are now 2-2. The Raiders are 1 game officially behind them. If the Chiefs lose, I believe the Chiefs are 2-1 as well. So that's pretty crazy to think, right? We would be 1 game behind, and the Chiefs are playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so it's not going to be an easy victory for them, right? I'm excited, man. Of course, it's all right there. It's all 100% right there. Dan said, let's keep running the ball. Fact, just keep running the ball, keep churning out those yards, 3, 4, 5 yards at a time. Tito said too many field goals, but we got the win. And that's the thing, right, is at some point we got to stop kicking field goals and we got to start scoring touchdowns. All right, too many field goals, and that's how you're going to lose games. Let's be honest. There was a point in this game where they had the ball and we were only up by a couple points. And truth be told, at that very moment, I thought to myself that all of those field goals are going to bite us in the ass, like for reals. I thought all of those field goals are adding up right now. And luckily for the Raiders, we got the win, man. We got the win, and that's all that matters. Jonah said, can we stop the jet sweeps and trick plays? I feel like these are the Josh McDaniel plays that he wanted to run in New England, but Bill wouldn't allow it. I don't know how true that is, right? I do think that if we're going to run a jet sweep and give the ball to a guy going into motion, it shouldn't be Devontae Adams, right? Put Tyrone Johnson in motion. Put a different guy in motion, right? Put Zamir White in, puts Amir Abdullah in motion, right? But not Devontae Adams, right? Adams isn't a guy with great after the catch ability. He's a great route runner. He knows how to beat people at the point of attack. I do like us to continue running the trick plays, run the quick screens, run all those things, because then it keeps the defense guessing. But I do think that Josh McDaniels, from a personnel package perspective, needs to do a little bit of a better job, right? In my opinion. Shout out to you for the super chat. CJ said, can the Raiders rework Chandler Jones' contract, free up some room for the D tackle? You can rework it, but Jones is not going to take less money. The only thing that you could do with Chandler Jones is he's making $17 million on average over the next 3 years. You can lower that, but then you'd have to add a 4th avoidable year, which would just be used as cap, which would mean he wouldn't be on the Raiders team. Basically, he would just count against the cap. So maybe you take like $6 million over these years, right? $2 million from each of these 3 years. and you put the $6 million into the fourth year, right? So technically, he's not going to get paid any less money. No NFL player gives money back, right? I don't think that's a thing. But shout out to you, CJ, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. I do think that the Raiders need to, regardless of money spent, right? I don't think that matters. I think you need to just get the best guy on the field. And I think Jones's contract is only 2 years. I think we can get out of it after the 2 years. LC said, is it time to buy a Hobbs jersey? I think it is. I think it is 100% fact, and it's time to buy a Nate Hobbs jersey. Nate Hobbs is really good, right? Let's just be honest. Nate Hobbs is one of those guys that, in my opinion, makes play after play after play, and I think he's the guy that the Raiders they got to get him to continue to develop, but I think he's the guy that has the most upside. Ty said there's a spammer in the chat. I believe I see who it is. I'm going to go ahead and block him. I'm going to make some of you guys, whatever it's called, where you guys can go ahead and block it out yourselves. I'm going to make Ty, I'm going to make you and a couple other members. I'm going to go ahead and make you guys have admin access so you guys can block these guys. I went ahead and just tried blocking him real quick. I appreciate all of you guys, man. If you guys could hit that thumbs up button, I would really, really, really appreciate it. I see what you guys are saying in mods. There are a couple mods to this show, right? So they're probably just not here right now, but I'll probably have to make some more of you guys mods. I do want to talk a little bit about more about some of the defensive players, because I don't think we've spent enough time on the defense. Maxx Crosby today had 2 sacks. He had a couple of quarterback hits. He had a couple of pressures. I don't think we talk enough about it, but I think Maxx Crosby is one of the best edge players in the entire NFL. I'm gonna talk about this on Twitter. I'm gonna do maybe like a thread or something like that. But I think Maxx Crosby is just so freaking underrated. I almost feel like when people say who are the top 5 edge players, people just go to, it's automatic. People just say, oh, J.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, the Bosa brothers, But I almost feel like Maxx Crosby kind of gets he gets left off that list. But Crosby has, I think, 6 sacks already on the season. Maybe it's not 6. But he has a lot of sacks. He has quarterback hits. The guy's on pace to have a fantastic year. He's going to break all of his previous best. I think he had like 8 sacks last year. He's going to way outbreak that, right? I see there's another spammer here. I'm going to go ahead and block him as well. But, yeah, I think Maxx Crosby, Ricky said he has 4 sacks. I thought he had 4 coming into this week. Maybe he only has 4 in total now. But he had 2 sacks today. And the sacks came at moments that really impacted the game, right? There are moments in which we absolutely needed to stop. And Maxx Crosby got it done, right? Just Win said Crosby is most definitely underrated. It's just crazy to think like Maxx Crosby has been an absolute monster this year. Nate Hobbs has really stepped up. Jordan Harmon, in my opinion, you can make the argument Harmon's been the MVP so far. An interception, a couple of forced fumbles. Because I believe it was Harmon that forced the fumble today as well, right? You guys can correct me if that's wrong, but I believe it was Harmon that forced that interception, right? Or I'm sorry, that fumble. So it's going to be interesting. Talk Kent said Max had a sack. Farrell got an assist. Chandler Jones laced his shoes. You know what? Chandler Jones did have a holding call forced, although that was part of the 1st and 30 in which they scored a touchdown on anyway, so maybe it doesn't really matter. But Chandler Jones did have a couple other good plays. He had a hit on the quarterback once or twice. He forced that hold. I think Chandler Jones played pretty well today. I know people are still going to say, where's Chandler Jones? This one comes from Wayne. He said, where's Chandler Ghost Jones? The thing is Chandler Jones is Chandler Jones. I'm not right all the time, right? Not at all. I get a lot of stuff wrong, but most of my takes are probably wrong, right? But one of the things I was pretty confident about was that Chandler Jones is not going to have as big of an impact as a lot of people may have thought. And he's not having it. And I think people are disappointed, right? Chandler Jones is going to end up with like 6 or 7 sacks, right? That's probably what he'll end up with at the end of this season. And that's not necessarily terrible, right? For a guy like Chandler Jones, that's okay, right? That's okay. I think the Raiders just need to be able to get a guy in Chandler Jones to get pressure, to make plays against the run, and just continue to do those type of things. Plus, never underestimate how teams are still going to slide towards Chandler Jones. Teams are going to still double team Chandler Jones. If Chandler Jones is not getting double teamed, he will get the sack, but he's still getting double teamed. At least that's what I'm seeing on the tape. Uh, China, I believe is how you say it, said, "Where is Chandler Jones?" Watch Sanjeet's video breakdown. He is a contributor. I should have done a film breakdown on Chandler Jones. It was part of a Raiders news video, I think, that I did. I did post it on Twitter. I did post it on Twitter where it was a video of Chandler Jones. It was against the Cardinals. I think he had like 5 or 6 solid plays. Either way, man, I hope you guys enjoy this video. It's getting a little late. We're about 45 minutes in. I am going to hop off at this point. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of this week, man. The Raiders got a win, and it's the first of many wins this year, man. I think the Raiders are a solid team, and I think they did a great job here against the Broncos. And I'm excited to see what the Raiders can do as the season continues. This Chiefs game is going to be a massive game. It is on Monday Night Football, so, we'll see what happens. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, man. Thumbs up, subscribe before you guys go. Thumbs up, definitely. And I'll see you guys next time with another video.